What if your best friend Anna comes to you with something to share, a heavy burden she's been carrying? I should pause here to describe Anna. Anna's this super sweet person. She's never done anything wrong from your perspective. She's an individual who steps on an ant and feels tremendous guilt. She's highly moral, and she has a deep sense of religion. She's this person. So all of a sudden, she comes to you with this heavy burden, and she wants to share with you. And so you're sitting there, and Anna shares, I'm having an affair. So at this stage of the conversation, you're like stunned. And without even knowing it, the first thing that comes to your mind and your mouth is, what were you thinking? And at this stage, Anna's shocked. She's like, what do you mean? And at this moment, you realize, oh, wow, I shouldn't have said that. Because now you've just inflicted a tremendous amount of emotion on Anna. You're judging her. So the conversation continues, and it ends in a very unsatisfactory way. You walk away questioning, who was this person? Do I even know Anna? And we'll say you know her spouse. Now you're like, crap, do I have to tell her spouse? What do I do now? Anna walks away with this heavy burden, feeling that she's judged and doesn't have anyone to turn to. So needless to say, this didn't go as planned. Now I want to pause here, because this is exactly highlighting what we're going to cover. And we're going to cover something I term the red light paradox. So what is the red light paradox? The red light paradox is simply this concept, the idea of running a red light, and it's okay to do it. So I say that, you're probably thinking, well, hold on, what? Let me pause and ask you a question. Would you run a red light? And there's a high probability when you evaluate that, you're thinking about the way you interact with red lights, which the vast majority of us interact with red lights in the afternoon. If we live in a big city, lots of traffic, they're highly functional. They're there to keep us safe, keep other people safe. They control the flow of traffic. So at this stage, like, well, no, it seems like a bad idea. Why would I do this? I don't want to run a red light. It's a really, really bad idea. I'm not running this red light. But what if I changed parameters? I changed the variables. And I ask you, would you run a red light if it is 3 a.m. in the morning and no one's around? It's just you sitting there collecting your thoughts. What seems to be an eternity is merely 40 seconds. But you're sitting there thinking, why am I sitting here? Now, I asked this question to my mother, who is like Anna, super sweet and innocent, has only kissed one man her entire life, and that man's my father. Okay, so she's this person. She's kind of like Anna. So I asked my mom, Mom, would you run a red light? Her reaction, no. My next question, okay, what if it's 3 a.m. in the morning? Her response, no, it's wrong. I'm not going to do it. I'll sit there and wait. And so what if I change the parameters again? What if I ask you, what if your spouse's life is on the line? So I posed that to my mom. What if Dad was bleeding out in the back seat and you're racing him to the hospital? My mom, well, what happened to your father? He got shot. How did he get shot? It doesn't matter, Mom. He got shot. You're racing to the hospital. Would you run a red light? Yeah, I think in that situation I would. I changed the parameters as such that now all of a sudden something she thought she would never do, she did. I want to pause here. I'm going to talk about the origin story. But before I do, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Michael Anaya. I'm in tech. But prior to that, I was a special agent with the FBI for about 14 years. So I say special agent. Special agent, these are the people who carry guns and arrest people, conduct interrogations, fly out of airplanes. What else do you do in movies? Chase people, jump buildings, right, with single bounds. Or I'm confusing this with Superman. But point is, these are these people that do these crazy things. So I can say most of that's true, except the one thing movies and TV shows don't capture is the tremendous amount of paperwork involved in being in the FBI. But in essence, I'm this person. And one of the things I did really well was interrogations. The reason why I'm so good at interrogations is I use a tool. Now, you might be thinking, okay, hey, go back to this movie and TV show stuff. I see they yell a lot. There's some sort of light. And there's a lot of anger in these interrogations. I have never seen that in real life. candidly. It's, I think, just made for TV. But that wasn't the tools. I didn't use fear. I used intimidation. I didn't use those tools. Instead, I used empathy. And by doing that, I realized the power of empathy. So it was so much so that I began to really connect with these various individuals who I'm conducting interrogations with. So much so, I had an interaction with another agent. We both were conducting interrogation together. At the end of the interrogation, we got a confession, like the movies. And so we're basically wrapping everything up. And he turns to me, and he says this: "You really connected with him. Like, you really kind of felt the way he felt." My response: "Yeah, I guess, like, right? That's what we do, right?" His reaction: No. Like, you didn't fake it. You weren't pretending. Like, you really felt what he was feeling. Like, it wasn't an act. You weren't acting. You connected with him at a visceral level. And this is the first time it's dawned on me that I was doing this. And I was like, I guess I did. And his reaction to that was, God, that's got to be draining. And that was the first time that I began to also realize that it was draining. And I started really thinking about, what was I doing? I realized I was empathizing. And it wasn't just in my professional life, it was my personal life. My best friend came to visit me one week and he brought his wife, and I've never met his wife before. Well, one night, his wife and I are chatting, and she's sharing a lot of intimate details about their relationship. I mean, so much so, she pauses during the conversation, and she turns to me and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What am I doing?" And she's like, "I don't know, but I'm like sharing a lot more than I should. Like, I shouldn't tell you all this stuff." And I'm like, I'm using the power of empathy. I didn't say that. But I was just like, I don't know, I'm just listening. And her reaction was like, stop. Stop using your dark magic. I shouldn't share this with you. And again, it was another realization that, oh wait, I am really empathizing with her. So much so she felt so comfortable. And really what it was, as I was doing this with her or subjects or witnesses, it allowed me to have a deeper understanding. I understood what she was thinking. I understood what she was feeling. Those subjects, initially you might have felt what they did was completely wrong. And all of a sudden I began to see it from their perspective. I began to see why they did what they did. And it made sense to me. And that's what I was sharing with them. I was connecting with them. I was empathizing. And ultimately all this led to was my effectiveness was increased. I all of a sudden became really good at interrogations. Multiple times I interrogate people, I would get confessions, which is very difficult to do. And then in my personal life, people would share so much more with me. Even to this day, I run a team, and these individuals open up with me. Some tell me things that they share with me, I shouldn't have shared that with you. But they still do. And it goes back to that level of empathy. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to teach you 3 ways to empathize. These are 3 techniques that you can do, and we're going to do together. All right. Remember Anna, our friend, your friend? Well, we're going to go back in time together in a time machine, okay? We're going to go back, and I will help you. We're going to redo that conversation, but this time, we're going to use 3 techniques. All right, ready? Here we go. I'm assuming that's a sound effect time machine is made, because I don't know, right? We're going to go with that. And we're also going to, for this example, we're going to assume Anna's totally cool with some random dude joining your conversation, okay? So I'm the random dude. So we're going to assume these things are true. All right, let's go back to that conversation with Anna. Remember the first thing you said to her, which was, what were you thinking? Okay, we're going to start right before then. Anna shares with you she's having an affair. Okay, your reaction, you turn to me like, okay, now what do we do? Because I want to say, what were you thinking? But I don't think that's the right answer. And I want to be like, you're right, it's not the right answer. That's not what you say. Instead, what you're going to do, the first step, ask thoughtful questions. So you're like, okay, what do we do? What do we ask? Well, let's ask her how she's feeling. So then you turn to Anna and you say, how are you feeling? The beauty about that moment is that now Anna doesn't feel judged. And you're asking her something that you can connect with later on. It's a feeling. Whatever she shares is something you categorically have experienced before. So we're going to put that in the back burner. You also notice the tone I use. That's critical in this situation because there's no judgment with it. So now Anna starts sharing with you. You don't just start with one thoughtful question. You're like, well, how many thoughtful questions do I need to ask? Well, as many as it takes. So let's say another thoughtful question you could ask Anna is, well, how did you feel when you first started having the affair? What was going on in your relationship? Again, empathetic. You're not judging her. You're merely asking a question. Now her focus is sharing information. Okay, so now we're looking good. My reaction, good job. This is much better than what were you thinking? Okay. So now the second component we're going to do is we're going to find parallel experiences. So in this situation, we'll say after asking these thoughtful questions, Anna then at some point shares that she hasn't felt connected to her spouse, that she hasn't felt heard. Now at this stage you turn to me and I'm like, okay, hey, I think I can connect with this. And my reaction to you is, yeah, we've all felt this way. Whether you're a student, just learning something new, talking to your professor, and he thinks you're so verdant you don't fully understand it. He just is very dismissive. Or you're a child, excited about some new piece of information you learned at school, racing home to tell your parents, but they're so busy working, they don't have time to listen. So we've all felt that before. We've all felt what it's like to not be heard. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to find these parallel experiences. Remember the first question you asked Anna, which is, how are you feeling? That is something you pull on at this point. So we'll say she said she felt confused. She feels angry. She feels frustrated. Those are all feelings you can connect with. So now we're going to tie all this together. The third step, which is step into their shoes. So now I'm like, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to now push yourself in Anna's situation. And you're like, well, hold on. I've never had an affair. Okay, that's fine. You don't need to have had the affair. But you can connect with her by thinking about those feelings, those common experiences. And imagine what she would have felt like. Because I guarantee you, Anna, when she married her spouse, was not thinking, oh, you want me to do someday? I'm going to have an affair. No, the person you know thought never, ever in her life would she ever do that. That was Anna at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The Anna who chose to have the affair is Anna at 3 a.m. in the morning at that red light, with other elements that are basically complicating the equation. And your job is to find those parallel experiences and connect with her. So now you put yourself in her shoes. And so at this point, you're like, okay, imagine I'm married, and all of a sudden I feel hurt. I feel frustrated. My spouse doesn't listen to me. Now, what if there's someone else who was listening to you, who was there for you, who empathized with you, who connected with you? Now, all of a sudden, you see things differently. Now, at this point, you might turn to me and say, hey, so I can kind of relate what she's feeling, but I still think she shouldn't have done it. And my response is, that's fine. This exercise is not to absolve Anna of guilt or innocence. It's merely to get a better understanding of Anna, to better understand what she's dealing with so you can better connect with her. I'm going to switch from one topic that's quite taboo to another equally taboo topic, marathons. Okay? So fairs, marathons, same, right? Probably not. But whatever, we're going to switch to this other taboo topic. I want to share a personal story from my life about marathons. So 10 years ago, I was in LA with my wife, and I wanted to do a joint exercise that we could do together. And she, in high school, was a sprinter, technically a 300-meter hurdler, as she would define it, remind me every single time. That's what she did. Well, I'm like, let's run together. Let's do a joint exercise like running. You can do that. I can do that. Let's run together. And she's like, okay. So we did a mile loop, and the landmarker was a Home Depot. So we were at a Home Depot run. She could never finish this run. She was winded. She got frustrated with me. We would argue about this, and we became acrimonious. And at some point, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore with you. I'm like, I'm done running these runs with you. We're not doing it anymore because we're fighting for no reason. Well, then all of a sudden, we entered a 5K. It was a charitable 5K. I forgot specifically what it was, but the cool thing at the time was we got to run Dodger Stadium. Now, at the time, I heard that. I'm like, that sounds cool. It wasn't technically Dodger Stadium. It was Dodger Stadium's parking lot, which isn't as cool. But whatever. So we run this parking lot, and we get a medal. My wife, at this moment, she completes it, and she feels a sense of accomplishment, but then she also has this medal. And that medal triggered something in her. And she's like, I like this. And she turns to me, and she's like, you know, I can do this again. That all of a sudden sparked her interest. Now, prior to that, if I were to tell her, hey, honey, you have completed, in 10 years from now, 60 half marathons, 8 marathons, and 1 ultra marathon. If you want to what's an ultra marathon, I don't know. It's just very long. It's like billions of miles or whatever. But she would have done this. And she would have turned to me and been like, I'm sorry, are you married to someone else? And I'm like, no, it's pretty sure it's you. And she's like, no, because I would not. I hate this. Why would I do that? But all of a sudden, those parameters changed. Once she got that first medal, it became kind of an addiction. She really liked it. And she would have gone through so much afterwards that she, at that moment in time, when we were running that Home Depot run, if I were to tell her that, she wouldn't believe me. Okay, so I shared a lot of things with you. So now what? What do you do with this information? Well, the last story I share regarding that introspective aspect, let's focus on that. If you find yourself in a rut, if you find yourself like, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, there's a high probability that's you at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The parameters of the environment are the same. That was my wife. That was Anna when she first got married. But all of a sudden, when things changed, when Anna didn't feel connected with her spouse, when my wife first got that medal, now all of a sudden that's them at 3 a.m. in the morning. So you can then take that and apply it to yourself. What can you do to change your parameters? Now, generally speaking, this tends to happen when you get fired or a major event in your life. But why? Take control. Change those parameters to put yourself at the intersection at 3 a.m. in the morning. Okay, now what about, how do you use this if you're connecting with someone? Well, the way you do that is you just simply go through those 3 questions. When someone shares something with you that's somewhat controversial, ask them thoughtful questions. Find parallel experiences that are in your life. And at the very end, put yourself in their shoes. By doing this, you can have a deeper understanding of this other individual. Now again, the objective is not to basically absolve them of guilt or innocence, it's merely to understand them. It's to empathize. And in today's divisive world, why wouldn't you want to empathize with people you care about, coworkers, family, friends? It's at this stage in our life that this tool of empathy is quite critical. I appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you. Good night.